What's going on, guys? It's late, but it's not too late. You still can you still got air in your lungs. You still got the ability to repent. It's not too late, but it is late. The hour is very late. And, my analysis of what I see happening right now is very, very troubling, to say the least. We are very close to something very huge, shaking people's, their whole way of perceiving what's happening is going to change. People are going to become very, I think what's coming is gonna shake the whole world, but it's gonna, here in America, I think it's gonna cause people to become very nationalistic, which is it's just an instinct to try to survive. I think it's a survival instinct that I think will rise. Anytime you see these past things that have happened in our past, like 9/11 or the Iraq wars. People rally. There was always going to be protests. There's going to be people that are going to, protest and be against it, or trying to explain what is really happening in the big picture. But most people are not looking at the big picture. They look at the, they're looking at how it affects them at that moment, and they want a remedy. And the problem is that the remedy is not what was being given as the remedy is not actually the remedy. It's actually what's enslaving and ultimately setting them up for even worse. It's an illusion and a grand deception. Unfortunately, it's just like the whole COVID thing. People took COVID shots because they were afraid. They were looking at their own self-interest to try to save themselves. And they were being told, they were being herded by fear. They were being herded by fear. They were being herded by, a desire to get back to being normal. Nothing's going to ever be the same in this world, the way things are going right now. It's like I could sit there and go through all of this news, and it's exhausting just to look at it, and especially at this late hour. I think I'm just going to just talk to you guys about what I see. I mean, I can go through all the details and all the news that I've looked at today and my analysis of it and what I think is about to happen. What's actually happening. It's not what's about to happen. It's actually happening. It's happening right now. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you, everybody needs to be prepared in every way. The food, I saw that food one, food article about how, if you're following my Telegram page and you're really keeping up on the blow by blow, play by play, messaging that's coming out of Ukraine and Russia, United States, China, Iran, Israel. This is all a big connected storm that's going to very soon, it's going to break out very soon. And how that's going to affect everyday life, I think it's going to change. It's going to change everything. Everything's going to change. Oh, Lord. But I just pray, I think we need to all be prayerful about what's coming. Game over. It reminds me, I know it's not a time to really laugh, but what is that clip? It's always a meme. Somebody always puts that meme up. I think it's game over. Game over, man. I think that's it. Let me see. Is that the one? Yeah, that's it. it's a meme on the internet. So many people look at this. This is what it reminds me of. Game over, man. What movie is this from? Somebody can tell me, because I never really figured that one out. I've seen the meme, and I think it's funny because internet culture is what it is. When you're on the internet a lot, you start tapping into these subcultures in different realms, in the interwebs, the dark, the I don't mean the dark web, because I don't even know what the dark web is. I think the dark web has something to do with things that are hidden, right? It's in the darkness. But no, this is just the subcultures that are, in their forums and their Reddits and the different threads that you get caught up into, and they'll play these meme type videos. But here's the one that you're talking about that I automatically thought, oh, were you talking about this? This is like a dystopian end of the world kind of meme. It seems appropriate right now.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
You finished?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
They mostly come at night. I know it's got a lot of foul language. I didn't realize. I didn't remember the foul language part, but it's definitely a dystopian moment when you realize and you wake up that this is it. This is the big one. This is the big one leading up to the very, very big ones. This is where I think the whole world is right now. And the analysis that I've been looking at, especially, and I'll just say this, Canadian Prepper has some good insights, and I think he's right on with a lot of his views on what's happening. And the reason why I say that is because it aligns with my view of what I see happening as well. Many times it's only a confirmation of what he says is what I already see going on. Whereas a lot of people don't see it. A lot of people don't see it because they're caught up into that left-right paradigm thing, and that politically being programmed to think a certain way, religiously, politically. You've been programmed through mainstream media and this AI. Literally, the AI has been at work for quite some time, beyond our knowledge of AI, because I think governments had these technologies for a while, but they've been deploying those algorithms on us for quite some time now, and it's given them opportunity to manipulate our perceptions or what we believe or think, or influence our conversations to get us to think a certain way. And if you're in that mode of thinking and you've been steeped in it and you haven't kind of gotten that clue, like that little godlike conviction and realization that something's amiss here, then you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. You're going to think that it's all hogwash, fear mongering, until something happens. You're going to be like, oh, and when it happens, then you'll be like, oh yeah, well maybe Robert was right. Maybe Canadian Prepper was right. And people say, well, Canadian Prepper, he's just there to make money, and he's got a shop. He's got end time equipment. Well, he's given up his shop. He's totally taken that offline. He's no longer doing retail. He's closing it up. He's moved out in the last 6 months or so, maybe longer. He got a bug out property, and he's been working on that bug out property, getting everything prepared for what he sees happening. He's living it. He's not just talking the talk. He's living it. He's walking it out. You know, he's out of the way. He's in a place where, you know, he's a little more secure when it does hit the fan. And I'm just going to tell you this. When it hits the fan, I wouldn't want to be in a city. I wouldn't want to be anywhere close to a city. And not to say that that's even going to help us rural people that are out of the way, that are even farther out of the way than most people would think is safe. Or I would say safe, you know, like, you know, when you're in a small town kind of environment, obviously there's community. You have, you know, it's not like, if you're in a small town, you know, when you talk about small towns, you're talking about, you know, 5,000 people registered, or you will say the population. But there's always going to be close by cities, or you would say smaller or larger towns, you know, maybe 20 or 30,000. And you got your little cities where they've got 100 to, you know, 500,000 people that are maybe an hour away. You know, maybe a couple 100,000. That's a big town. You know, that's a big city, I should say. 500,000 people. I'm trying to think of what that one city has. Let me see how many is close by. Just out of curiosity here. I'll tell you. And the reason I say this is because people are going to be you know, it's not going to be so much that you're fearing gangs, and yeah, it is. And I'm not to say fearing gangs. I'm just saying when people, I mean, okay, just give you a little headline. So you saw the headline today, the price in produce wholesale going up 38%. You know how much that's going to affect your, hey, wholesale prices are already high. I mean, there were people at Walmart talking about how, you know, a piece of fruit, one piece, you know, one lemon was like $1.50 or $2. A tomato like $2.50 for just one tomato. You know, like you know, and you're looking at produce going through the roof, and I was thinking, well, why are these prices so high at Walmart? And then I see this article come out that says 38% rise in wholesale. Guys, this is the stealth famine that we told you was coming. And then all of a sudden, all the wildlife that would be, you know, your natural game in case something does happen are being all of a sudden affected by these zombie viruses, so that you can't really, you're going to want to go out and, you know, try to shoot a deer or a moose or something that has some kind of disease now, because they've got wasting disease, they've got these zombie diseases. All this is just recently coming out. Why do you think they're getting all poisoned? They're being poisoned probably from the chemtrail. They're probably like, stick that, you know, zombie disease poison in the chemtrails now, because it's almost time. We got to make sure they're starving to death. And they're shutting off water in California to the farmers. Did you see that? They're doing the same thing in Idaho, and I don't know if they're following through with that. But okay, so the population in one of the larger towns, I should say larger towns in our area, is about 200,000. Oh, excuse me. It's the actual city itself, or the little city, is actually 56,000, but that's a pretty large population of people. That's about an hour and a half from me, or an hour, maybe. Yeah. But that's the large. But if you're like in California, you go 10 minutes and you've got millions of people all around you. That's scary. Even if you're up in the mountains in California, you could be up in like the Sierra Nevadas. It only takes like half hour to get up there. You know, everybody and their brother is going to go up there, and you've got like 15 million people in the valley right below you. I mean, seriously, you got 15 million people just a stone's throw away. You don't think they're all going to go up into the mountains when everything goes bad? I'm just saying, I mean, you know, and you say, well, why would you even think about escaping to the mountains, Robert? Well, that tells me right there you have no clue about what potentially can happen. And I don't even know if it would help for me to even try to explain to someone that is probably wondering what I'm talking about. Because this is why we've been on for 15 years talking about preps and things like that, prepping and having a mindset that has backups, you know. But the prepping thing is to me is like on the back. It's on the back shelf now. I don't put that as the front, and I never did put it on the front shelf, but it was always something there because you think about. I mean, it's like I heard the illustration. When you go drive, you put on your seatbelt, right? You don't just go drive and you don't put your seatbelt on because if there's a crash, you want to have the seatbelt on, right? You want to have a safety mechanism. That's why you prep. Well, you prep because, you know, in case something goes wrong, you got a little safety mechanism to fall back on, right? Let's call using your head. A little common sense. Common sense. It's not that I'm putting my trust in my preps. Maybe God told me to do the preps. Maybe God gave me wisdom to put the seatbelt on before there was some trouble on the road where somebody crashed into us. You know, but, you know, when you do have a little storehouse that you can go depend on in a hard time, and if you stocked up during the good times, well, then you were smart, you were wise. But if you just live hand to mouth, you know, one day at a time, you got like 2 days supply of food in your house. Well, when it all hits the fan, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? This whole stuff is crazy. I'm looking at these articles, these posts coming out right now, and it is absolutely crazy what's going on right now. Russia is basically telling the world that they're going to come against the United States. They literally bombed a U.S. based in the Ukraine company that was huge. It probably had Americans in there too. There's probably Americans in there that got bombed, that probably died. And you know, I could explain all these things to you guys in detail and go through the whole list of things, and maybe I'll do that tomorrow or something. But the most important thing to know, and maybe this is just, you know, get your spiritual attention kind of moment, maybe not so much your figuring it all out with political, you know, analysis of what's happening. You know, it's, you know what it reminds me of too? It's like when people realize this is really it. This is like the moment when people realize the Titanic was really sinking. Like when they really thought they really realized it was sinking, is when they saw the water coming in and getting closer to where they were at. The whole boat was starting to like tilt up. That's when they started realizing, you know, the music was playing and people were still talking about, you know, probably maybe the boat wouldn't sink. Maybe it'll just float there and they'll come and rescue them and they'll just be able to get off before it really does sink. But it may not happen that way. It may be that America literally goes into some pretty chaotic moments and times that we've never seen in a long, long, long time. And probably maybe even worse than what we've ever seen. That's what I think is happening. That's what I think is about to happen. And all the reasons are all there in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. If you've been following our feeds and you've been looking at the sources and what is actually happening, you know, politically and militarily, then you would understand what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you're just going to chalk it up to some guy that's just telling me that things are bad and trying to scare me with, you know, how bad it really is. But the real answer to all these questions or fears is what I talk about every day. It is faith in God and getting to know from, his heart and mind, because he does want to translate that into our experience. We should be looking to see the Lord's intervention in our everyday life, in the details of that unfolding life that we are living, that we are walking in accordance and in step with his will and his spirit, right? His spirit does lead us. And the stories in the Bible about how God specifically in detail worked out the future of those that were called by his name, that were his children, it's very real. And it still happens to this day. And if you don't believe that, well, then just throw your Bible away. It's not just a fairy tale book. It's a reality book. Okay? This isn't just fairy tales we're talking about here. And but we're in an age of enlightenment. We're in an age of peace and prosperity. We're in an age of technology. This could never happen. They would never do these things. They would never use nuclear weapons. They would not do these things. Well, you don't understand the progression and the unfolding. What is it? Okay, let me just give you an example. If you've ever been engaged in a fight, and I'm not just talking a physical fight. Let's just not say physical. Let's just say you've ever been in a verbal confrontation. You didn't want to go there, but the verbal confrontation started. You tried to pull yourself out of it. You tried to stop it. You tried to bring peace. You the Bible does say that too. If at all possible, be at peace with all men. It says, if at all possible. Sometimes it's not possible. You just got somebody that just wants a piece of you. They just want to throw mud, and they're going to do everything they can to get you embroiled. They're going to attack you and then say that you attack them. Have you ever met some psycho people like that, where they try to attack you and then they try to play like they're the victim? There's videos on YouTube that'll show you people that are completely psycho trying to attack somebody and then trying to play the victim, but they didn't realize a camera was there watching it. Everything. Thank God for cameras sometimes. They can catch all this stuff. But so you have this mindset. And so the point being is that you get caught up in a fight that you can't get yourself out of, because the other person and the other party is not going. They're going to pull you in. They're going to start throwing mud, and you're gonna be involved no matter what. You could run and try to get away, but they're gonna chase you down or whatever, And especially if they have, skills at trying to entangle you into their nightmare of cuckoo-ness. Chaos. This is what's happening this is what's happening on these global things that are going on here, that I'm watching these things unfold. This is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of there's just we are headlong stuck. And what do you do when you have a person that's crazy like that? Now, let's take it a step further. Let's say that this crazy person has a weapon. Let's just take it, and I'm giving this as an analogy in light of what's happening politically and militarily around the world. And I'm going to tell you what, countries are looking at us as being that crazy person now that has weapons potentially. What do you do? Because now they're threatening to try to bring to bear their projected, and I say projected, they're projecting their desire to control you, to manipulate you, and to subjugate you against your free will, or they're going to do more crazy stuff to you if you don't capitulate and follow their rules. Okay, that's the crazy that I say is happening right now. And what does a country do when they feel that's happening? They collaborate with other countries secretly, and they prepare for war. They continue to kind of make you feel like they're going along with you, but they're getting ready to bolt. You know, have you ever heard the scenario of the beaten wife? The beaten wife does not in any way let her husband know that she's going to split, right? This is another analogy. So, and you can take it in any kind of relationship that, you know, just extrapolate it out to a country, to the countries. This is why I'm giving you this illustration, because it fits with what's happening, what I see going on internationally and with these different relations with the countries, is that Putin and all of these countries are not letting us know. They're kind of placating Trump. They're going along with him. They're going along with the crazy. They're pretending like they're somewhat, you know, appeasing or acquiescing. And it's in their best interest to kind of kick that can as far down as possible so they can get ready for when they're going to bolt. They're going to leave suddenly without notice. And they're, you know, it's kind of like that abused wife that finally gets to the point where she's going to leave. She doesn't tell her husband because he might go crazy and, you know, kill her or something. You know, you got some really psycho people out there, and it could be the other way around too. You know, you could have a psycho wife that, you know, might have the same kind of mentality, but I'm just, as I said, the illustration is that person has to extricate themselves from that relationship without having a direct confrontation, because that person could do something crazy. And I say, America, it really looks like we're that crazy. We're the crazy. Even though we may think ourselves as people that are a part of America, we may think we're so smart, we're so wise, we have such power, and our leader, our fearless leader, is demonstrating on the world stage how great we really are. But if you're a student and really understand character and a true balanced mindset and mentality, you would see that that's crazy. You know, that's like egomaniac kind of crazy. You know, narcissistic kind of crazy. That and I say that it's a bad characteristic that leads to other terrible outcomes. Especially when you've got nukes under your control and technologies that can, you know, Palantir technologies. You know, you're just talking. I just think it's going to go from bad to worse. From bad to worse. And I know I brought up those analogies, and people are probably like, hey, I know somebody like that. I've had a husband like that, or I've had a friend like that, or, and I don't mean to stir up any bad emotions or thoughts or memories, but, or maybe even stirring up something that's currently going on. You might be having some major, well, the thing that you do in a situation like that is you pray for wisdom, and you pray for God's deliverance, and you act, wise as a serpent, be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. Trust the Lord, for wisdom. There is a time to, pray for your enemies or those who might be against you, and pray the Lord transforms them. But there's also a time to be wise and get yourself out of harm's way if it's definitely a harmful environment. But I think that what we see happening right now in the world stage is a prelude to some kind of break in what may be perceived as decorum and friendly relations, diplomatically friendly between Russia and the United States, but it's all theater with what's really happening. It is that song that I shared the other day. They smile at your face. It's kind of like they right before they stab you in the back, they give you a little kiss. They pretend like your friend. Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that that movie Jerry Maguire? How many of you guys remember that movie, Jerry Maguire? Remember right before he got fired? Everybody was like smiling at him and saying, they were like, "Yeah, that's great, Jerry." He had that little message that he gave. I forget what it was, like some kind of little statement. When it was one of his nice philosophical and mission statement. I guess it was a mission statement he shared, but it was at that point where he kind of lost his hold on his job, and he was being 86th, and he didn't really realize it, but everybody was like smiling at him and, "You're doing great, Jerry. That's awesome, Jerry." But they knew he was gone. He was gone. They smile at your face all the time. They want to take you a place. They smile at you. They give you a big old hug as they got that knife ready to stick it in your back. But it's true. Human nature is opportunistic, and it will take advantage, and it doesn't mind. In fact, it rejoices many times at the downfall of many of people that are in their way. That's why I posted that caterpillar pillar story, because that caterpillar pillar story represents, in a children's little story, the mindset of the business world, of the political world, the social, climbing the ladder of social greatness, or financial greatness, whatever it is that you're trying to get to the top of. When you find out you get there, all that you find at the tippy top is a bunch of cutthroat people trying to throw other people off the top so they can keep their place. Everybody is just trying to stay at the top, viciously attacking each other, trying to stay at the top. But anyways, you can only do that for so long because there's always going to be a bigger bully. Have you ever heard that saying? There's always going to be someone bigger than you, and eventually it's going to knock you on your keister at a certain point. You think you're all that more? Well, there's going to be someone that's going to come along and knock you over. One of these days, pow, right in the kisser. As Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the jaw. Then your plan goes out the window when you find yourself sitting on your backside with little, Twitter birds going around your head, tweet, 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 and you're like all out of it, right? You're a fan of my sleeve? I know. It's the whole make America great kind of mindset, patriotic. Yeah, I talked to a military guy recently, and kind of a higher level military guy, actually. As a chaplain, and I kind of brought up the Ian Bounds. You know who Ian Bounds is? E. Edward Mary M. Bounds, Bounds. He was a preacher and a chaplain for the Confederate Army during the Civil War. And, you think, oh, well, he's on the wrong side. He's on the losing side. But he ministered to his men on the battlefield. And he was a man of great prayer. He wrote a lot of books on prayer. If you ever get a chance to read some of his stuff or listen to it on YouTube, you can find some of his stuff on YouTube. Anyway, I brought that up because, wherever you find yourself, whatever country you're in, you pray for your leaders, you pray for your country, you pray for the environment that you're in. You don't hate anybody, I pray for Muslims. I pray for, I pray for Jews. I pray that if I'm in their environment, that I somehow can adapt in some way that will help them to listen and hear what I have to say. Somehow I try to find middle ground. I try to identify in some way, but it's ultimately for a higher purpose and a greater cause, which is ultimately an eternal plan, an eternal place, a kingdom. It's not of this world. And I always think of Jesus when he said, My kingdom is not of this world. They said, are you a king? And he's like, well, yeah, but my kingdom is not of this world. For if it was, then would my servants fight? They were probably like, oh, he thinks he's a king. Look at him. Poor guy. He's beside himself. He's in chains here and he's being beaten and he's pretty much just being, getting ready to be crucified. He thinks he's a king. But the people that really were perceptive and really understood, they saw the greatness and the power being demonstrated through his weakness, through his giving up of his own life. It was willingly done. Who has that kind of strength to do that? To willingly lay down your life. Now, some people may not see that it was willing. They thought, well, yeah, he unwillingly. He was in a place where he was unwillingly. But no, he went there willingly, and they didn't get it until later. Maybe they didn't ever get it. Maybe that's why they're yelling and screaming right now in hell with all the other damned. Now, I don't know. I don't know how long that lasts, but in wrath, remember mercy. Amen. Looking at some of your comments. I was wondering that. I miss my emoji buddy. What do you mean your emoji buddy? It's subdued. Is that the black American flag? It looks gold to me. It's just on a black shirt. The gold flag. Super Dave says, you joined in 97. You almost went as a chaplain. That's cool. I respect the military. I respect people in the military. I just think it's they have to really kind of, it's kind of like programming you to think a certain way. They have to program you. They have to really break you down and build you back up in the image of what it means to be a true soldier, to give your life for a cause. It's not really, God. It's mostly country. It's not so much God. Well, they talk more about country, and you're basically a servant of the state. But now, if you have a higher purpose and you're in the midst of the military, well, then your true devotion and commitment is to God first, right? Not to state, or it would be secondary. But if it contradicts what state says or what commander says, are you going to obey God or are you going to obey man? That's where it comes down. That's where the rubber meets the road. Or you're going to get court-martialed, or you're going to be dishonorably discharged if you don't follow the rules, or you're going to follow God's rule. And when it comes down to it, you have to make a choice if it does intersect and contradict. Right? God first. Black cruisers, yeah. Did you see the ones that now have Donald Trump's name on it? There's like the police force now that has Donald Trump's name on the actual cruiser, as if it's like his police department. ICE now has these new cars that are black and gold. Black and gold with Trump's name on the car. Don't know about that one. But I'm sure that's all ramping up domestic compliance. We can do this the easy way, Trump's way, or we can do it the hard way, Alligator Alcatraz. Like I said, what do you guys think about food prices? At least in produce, going up 38%. What are you gonna be still buying your fruits and vegetables from the store? How's that gonna work? I guess it's not going to really, people aren't going to really care when war breaks out. People are just going to try to figure out how they're going to survive. That's the way I think it's going to go. Anyways, your uncle was a lieutenant colonel chaplain in the military in South Carolina, and he served in all world major wars in the trenches as chaplain. Are you talking about World War I and World War II? How could he serve in all world major wars? He couldn't have been old enough to be in World War I. Couldn't have been World War I, no. It would have had to have been, you're talking about recent wars that we've been, like Vietnam and Iraq and all that. Now, things have gotten so chaotic in our country in terms of crime and, you know, corruption. Isn't it like the devil, though, to put his front man out there? It's kind of like WWE. We're crafting a narrative here. We want everybody to see these dark, demonic entities that many people get behind and cheer because they like the dark side. They're like black witches. They like to practice black magic. But hey, we've got our really good guys out there too. You know, the guys that like they're the white magicians. They're out there like, you know, the good witch in Dorothy. You know, she was a beautiful witch. She wasn't a bad witch. She was a good witch. And so we don't mind having the good witch coming on board and making everything nice and pretty again. But that's the devil's big deception. He puts out this narrative where you believe, oh my, this is terrible. God save us. And then he provides you the answer. That's what they call problem, reaction, solution. They cause the problem, they provide the answer, or they cause a reaction in you. You get all offended and you get all crazy and, you know, demand change. You know, we can't stand this. It's getting worse and worse by the day. Something's got to change. And then here he comes. And then you start hearing Mighty Mouse music in the background. Here he comes to save the day. And then all of a sudden somebody's just resurrecting politically out of the ashes of possible persecutions and threats, slings and arrows, you know, taking all of these for you. He's taking it for us. He's literally rising from the dead. My goodness, it's a man from heaven, God sent to come save us. That's the solution. But little did you know that the problem and the solution were created by the same entity. Yeah. Same person. Same entity up there, you know, playing Hulk Hogan against, you know, the Iranian wrestler was talking about how they're going to destroy America. It's all the same thing. It's all for entertainment value anyway. They probably sit back and laugh at Americans, how stupid and gullible they are to believe these things in their deep underground military-style bunker waiting for the end. And, you know, you got to kind of wonder with what's going on if they're not really preparing for all-out chaos to hit anytime. Why do you think they're rolling out military all over the major cities of America right now? Why do you think there's martial law? They're preparing And this may be the continuity of government, at least to try to secure their locations. Maybe not so much save you, but to secure their own infrastructure. This is probably what this is going on. They're getting us all used to seeing military on the streets now. But that was all part of the plan, maybe. Did you hear about that big earthquake, Rob? There was a big earthquake today. I think it was a 7.5 right at the base of South America or Argentina. I think it just happened, right? What was it, 7.8, 7.7? They said it could have possibly been an 8.3. I don't know. Let me see. I just saw it. 7.5. It was a 7.5. Let's see. $7:16 p.m. today, province of Fuego, province, Argentina, Tierra del Fuego. 442 miles from Ursula, and that's South America right there, right? And that was, yeah. So there's been a bunch of earthquakes today, and they're right around the 6-point range. Drake Passage earthquake. So this is the Drake Passage, they say. That's where it's at. It's in South America. It's like North America, but it's south. And we're going to invade. We're going to invade we're going to be invading which country is it that we're supposed to invade here? Was it Maduro's country? Brazil? No, it's not Brazil. Venezuela, yeah. So we're supposed to be invading Venezuela. And you know, I was telling people that and they're fielding a 4.5 million man army in preparation for America's invasion, or what they believe is going to be a, you know, probably more of an attack from our Navy is down there. We've got 3 ships going down there. That's probably going to start launching missiles and and this is all trying to get the chessboard set up for what's coming with the Middle East and Russia and China. They're all going to coordinate their attacks. This is all going to happen at once. China, Russia, Iran, they're all going to coordinate their attacks at the same time. And who knows if it's going to be a big surprise. It could happen at any moment. But you know that it's coming. Just so you know, it is coming. And you should be in every way prepared. In every possible way, prepare yourself. And the key to preparation is obviously seeking first the kingdom of God first and his righteousness. Make sure your heart is right with God, and then everything else will be given to you. And you'll have wisdom from above. You'll have the discernment of the voice of the Lord will be heard. for specific details that you need. In what I would say would be real time. You know, you need real time messaging from God. These aren't just principles that you have, you know, attached to your refrigerator, you memorize, or you somehow, you know, try to work into your schedule. This is real time information about what you need to do at the time that you need to do it. You're going to hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." And you want to know that the voice of the Lord is definitely with you, right? Don't worry about what you're going to speak. It'll be the Spirit of my Father in you that gives you words that cannot be gainsaid. God said to Moses, "I will be with your mouth." Don't worry about what's going on. Don't worry about what you're going to say. I'll be with your mouth. I'll give you the words that your enemies cannot gainsay. That means they can't contradict. You don't have to worry. But the Ukraine situation, that is going to go from bad to worse. And let's see. These drills that are going on in Belarus that are fixing to happen could be a prelude to kinetic conflict right there in Eastern Europe. I think it's going to all hit the fan in the next few weeks. It could happen before the next few weeks, but I think it's going to happen sometime in September. A lot of people are saying it's going to happen in September, but it literally could happen beforehand. All I know is that they're coordinating. Ouch. These countries are preparing. Everybody's preparing. Europe is, this one country, I think it's Finland, or is it Finland? Yeah, they're digging in, and they're preparing their front lines and their bunkers. I mean, a lot of these countries are doing that. All in Poland and Lithuania, I think, is doing the same. I mean, it's just happening everywhere in Eastern Europe. Man. I'm just looking at the map. What's to come here? Did you know if you were to go, here's Israel right here, right? King of the North. King of the North. He hears troubling news from the East. King of the East. A pathway has been prepared over the Euphrates River because it dried up. And has not the Euphrates River been drying up? Is it not giving a pathway and preparation for the 200 million man army coming from the East? Who can marshal a 200 million man army? China, the king of the East. There we go. And all this coalition of nations, I just believe that, it's going to be something that affects America. Like, I just feel like I still am trying to grab a hold of what prophetically it's going to look like. Like, what's going to happen to America? Are we going to be completely neutralized during this unfolding end time scenario that is very clearly chronicled all throughout our, revelatory books, prophetic books, I should say? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that have their ideas, but I think that we're going to be neutralized, and I think we're going to have some pretty bad repercussions. Could we be the Babylonian city that it talks about that burns in one day? Do you guys think that that's what it is? That's what it's talking about? I'm kind of curious. But don't know. I know it's late, guys. I'm just kind of hanging out just to kind of talk a little more about what I see going on. That's about it. Let me read a few more of your comments, and then I got to go. It's amazing how God works on you and enemy when guns are pointed at... Yeah, that's true. Did you see that story where the guy in Anchorage got a free motorcycle from Putin? No, I didn't see that. What in the world? A free motorcycle? Why did he get a free motorcycle? Some Russian reporter in Anchorage saw a guy on a Russian motorcycle, so they told Putin, and they contacted him and said Putin wanted to give him a new motorcycle. What? That is bizarre. That's pretty bizarre. That is amazing. What the heck? You're on the night shift? Now I enjoy it. I'm ready to go to sleep. I had such a long day today and I'm so tired. North Korea Isaiah chapter 46 verse 11. Let me see. Isaiah chapter 46 verse 11. Let's see if I can find it here. I spelled it wrong. Verse 11. It says, prophecy that states God is calling a bird of prey, a man of his choosing, identified as Cyrus from the east, to execute his counsel from a distant land, and declares that what God has spoken and purposed, he will certainly bring to pass. Yeah, sometimes people don't get it, that God uses people that don't know him, or he uses kings and nations. He raises them up as a tool or a weapon of judgment in his own hand. He'll use enemies. He'll empower them. He'll give them favor to accomplish his goals, but they still don't know the Lord. Isn't that amazing how God uses people? He does the same thing in your own, in your own environment. He can use anybody. He can use a donkey. As I said the other day, God spoke, the dumb ass restrained the madness of the prophet. That's what it says, the dumb ass. That's because he was a mute. A donkey can't speak. That's why the New Testament calls the donkey a dumb, because he can't speak, ass, because he's a donkey. But he restrained the madness of the prophet, because the prophet wasn't listening to God. So God can use dumbass to stop and to judge you. Ever thought of that? I think God put that in there for a reason. I think he put that in there to kind of show humanity, like, you know what? I can use anything to get your attention. And I would say, yeah, anything. Someone even like me, he can use to get people's attention. Mm-hmm. Well, get ready, brothers and sisters. It's about to hit the fan. I hope we're all ready. Are you guys all ready? You guys all ready? Gates. I still haven't finished that last part of that gate yet. I got half of it done and I never went back out there because I've been doing other stuff, because I've pressed for time to get stuff done on this front. I got a million fronts, and I always have to choose which is the most important for today. Which one should I do today, Lord? I don't have that much time, not that much strength. I got to get what I got to get done, and I got to do it. And then everything else has to be put on a back burner. But I'm getting closer to it. I keep feeling like this is it. I'm supposed to do it. And when I do that last part of the gate, I'll take some video of it and I'll say, this is it. This has got to be the moment. Maybe it just means something else. I don't know. I keep trying to read into it, maybe. But it does have kind of a weird feel to it. I keep feeling it's strange because it is coinciding with all this nuclear stuff. And we really could be on a precipice right now of nuclear, something nuclear. Did you see the Russians doing the tests? They put out that video of them testing their nuclear missile that they were shooting out of the... They did that video on purpose. That's a message, again, to the West. That's their... They're putting out messages for us. We will do it. This is what they're saying. We will do it. You want to push us, we will do it. That's what they're saying. It's a chess game. Who knows what's really, 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 really going on down deep? But once it all hits the fan, and I'm going to go over, I think, tomorrow, some of that commentary, and I'll kind of take the deep dive with you guys on that and lay it all out, point by point by point, all the recent events in the last 48 to 72 hours. I'll try to do that tomorrow. And I'll go through, it'll probably be a couple hour long deep dive where I got all my wits, couple cups of coffee in my blood, so I can go through all that material and lay it out. You can also get one of those coffees. That would help. Hit some of the donate buttons. That frees up some of my time too. That'll help. And it also gives me some energy, some much needed energy. But in the meantime, guys, I do appreciate all you guys hanging out, sharing the videos, praying for us. We definitely see that as the most important thing of support is prayers. And, collaboration. All of you guys collaborate. Let's have some collaboration. We are the body of Christ. We need to represent. Amen. We need to represent. Let's see the Lord. Let's see the Lord who is God. Let's see him answered by fire. That's what I say. I'm putting the Lord to the test. Lord, you answered by fire. You're the God of heaven. You're the God of the Old Testament. You're the God of the New Testament. You did all these things. I don't have any doubt. I've seen too much in my time as a believer to doubt. But I do believe that you're going to do even greater things as we get closer to that moment. My dogs are barking out there. And so the God who is God, let him answer by fire. Let's see it. And I'll be the first one to pour water on everything. Like, I'll just douse it. If it's truly the Lord, let's just see. All right. I'll be the first one to test it for everybody. Make sure that there is no trickery here. We are not playing tricks on people. Spiritual gimmicks, gimmick. Trying to sell Jesus junk. Now, if I do sell something like fire starters, there's a message in it. There's a message in fire starters. There's a prophetic hidden message that we are starting fires. We are lighting fires. We are bringing the fire of God. That's what we're doing. We're packing heat. We are packing some heat here, and you're going to need some heat when all the infrastructure goes down. You might want to think about fire. That's one thing you need to survive. One of the main things is cooking food, purifying water, keeping warm. You need fire, right? You need water, you need food, but fire is very important. You need to know how to contain it, carry it. That's why you got to pack it, put it in your pack, your bug out pack if you need a bug out pack, or a bug in pack, because it could affect you if you're bugging into. Your gas might not be working, your electricity might not be working. When it all is said and done, when it really hits the fan. I hear somebody out there. Anyways, guys, God bless. I got to go. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. Be gracious to you and give you peace and shalom in Christ. Amen. Lord, bless everyone here with your abundance. Give them dreams and visions and show them things that are to come and give them insights into the things that they need to know and the things that are relevant to them, to their moment in this moment in time, for them to know you and to share that knowledge with everybody that they meet, that they would know it's true, that you are truly the God that inhabits eternity and their heart. Every heart God has placed eternity in, and Lord, you inhabit that eternal place. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. God bless. I'll talk to you soon.